Greetings, friends. Welcome to Strategic Missional Leadership. I'm Dr. Alan Ehler, and it is great to be back with you again. I hope you have enjoyed your experience in the Master of Arts in Ministerial Leadership Executive Cohort with Southeastern University. This is going to be a very fun class. We're going to have an incredible time together in Washington, D.C. with Dr. Mark Batterson and his team at National Community Church. We're going to have a lot of other special experiences, and thanks to Nina Schmidgall for helping to work out some of those details. I know it's going to be incredible, unforgettable time, and especially learning together. And of course, it is still grad school. I know it's been extra intense this semester for you with your two classes with Dr. Daniel McNaughton and Dr. Sam Hamby. Those are starting to ramp up, and just want to let you know you have your syllabus now, and you can begin working on that. You've had your books. You may already have them all read. If so, you'll be grateful. It still needs to have its full content as a graduate level course, but I'm taking into consideration all that you're dealing with. I'll be your official record of professor for the course, just a lot of the details that work out with that. Dr. Batterson is going to be your primary instructor, and he decided on the textbooks. I put together the class assignments, and we do have to meet what's called the official syllabus, and it prescribes what's called a missional action plan. Very similar to what you may know as a strategic plan. It's basically, how are you going to accomplish the mission of your church or organization? How are you going to make it happen? And there's several things that we're looking for in there, and I've listed them for you, 7 different items to keep in mind. Now, I want you to think the books you're reading are directly related to this. The first one, Mark's newest book, is more focused on your personal habits, but they are the personal habits of a leader. So there's going to be some things in there that you'll be able to focus on and think about in terms of putting your plan together. But all of the other 3 books are dealing with how do you lead in today's reality. Todd Bolsinger's book about canoeing the mountains, which sounds like crazy, and he's taken a look at Lewis and Clark and their journey out west into undiscovered territories, how much that parallels the world we're living in. And Todd had no idea that the pandemic would come less than 2 years after he wrote the book. So there's a lot of great principles in there that are exactly what this class is about. How do you navigate? How do you lead your people into an unknown and uncertain future? So you take a look at that. Simon Sinek, best known for his Start With Why book. You know, everybody wants to start with what, but in reality, you got to start with the why first. This takes it to a new level, redefines how do we win? How do we play the game? We tend to enter into any kind of leadership with this idea of, okay, there's a finish line, there's a scoreboard, there's going to be, the gun's going to sound, the game is over, there's going to be a winner and a loser. And he said, that's not the kind of game we want to play. And think about it. For us in the church, our game is over when Jesus returns. Until then, the mission continues, probably after our generation. So if we redefine the win, how is it going to affect how we play? And then the other one, Safi Bakal, interesting book. He's actually a medical scientist, but he's taken principles to seeing what is it that makes the biggest difference in helping an organization go to the next level. And he calls them loon shots. They're the thing that nobody takes seriously. Everybody thinks is lunatic out to lunch, but it's always the thing that leads to the breakthrough. He's going to share a lot of breakthrough ideas. So as you read these books, think through in your own mission, your own ministry, whatever it is, and find some principles that you can implement and put in there along the way. I want this plan, this missional action plan, to be for what you lead. Some of you are lead pastors. It's good to do that for the whole church if you can. If that's overwhelming, then pick something you want to launch or improve. It can be something underneath the whole church. If there's something you're wanting to look at, launching a new ministry, starting some sort of new program, launching a new campus, maybe look at selling a building, something like that, that's fine. Others of you, you've got a staff role, you've got a niche in there. Use this as an opportunity to think through what is it you are doing and how are you doing it. And you'll notice I've got those 7 principles. Number 1 is how is it now? First of all, is what's the mission? What are you supposed to be doing? You may have a mission statement. Great. You may have a vision statement or a purpose statement. Use that. That's fine. You don't have to spend a lot of time on that part. I just need to know, what do you think it is you're supposed to be doing? Then next is, how are you doing now? What's the current situation? And you can give me quantitative and qualitative. If you got data, use that. And data can be super helpful. Some churches live and die on data. Others have no idea what even that word means. And so if you've got some, use it. That's great. I'm not going to tie you down to something particular in that, but that can be very, very helpful there. Then I also want you to take a look at What is the community? Who are the people you're trying to reach? Where are you? What's the current situation there? Data for this, and I am asking for 5 extra sources throughout this paper besides all of the assigned books and your experiences in DC. But these can be things like population data, U.S. Census data, any sort of, you ever do one of those pulls, the church reports that give you the report on the type of people in your community. That's awesome. I mean, even your church records would count. I'll count that as a source. This doesn't have to be hyper academic, but it does need to be hyper practical. Who are you? Where are you? Where are your people? What's the situation? So the number 3 is who are you trying to reach? And then the next one, these are called OKRs. If you've never heard of this before, I put 2 books that are suggested resources, not requiring you read them, but let me just say they're super helpful. And the OKR thing comes from a guy named John Doerr, who was at Intel, and he was a part of helping get Google off the ground, and he cites all kinds of the greatest people in the book called Measure What Matters. And his theory is you want to have some objectives, just a few things that really matter in terms of accomplishing your mission, just like 3, maybe 5, and then find a way to measure them. Those are your key results. How will you know you've accomplished your objective, and then what is the timeline for those? So again, if you got time, you want to read the book, awesome. If not, give me your best guess. How are you going to know you're achieving this? Next thing, I need to have the biblical theological foundation for your mission as well as the plan. Why is it you exist as an organization, and why are you doing what you're going to do? Give me both of those. Give me some scriptural reflection. If you want to use some of your sources as commentaries or theology books, that's great as well there. And then include a list of people. Who's on the team? Who are the people, the key characters? It can be names. It can also be just positions. That's fine, and it doesn't have to include everybody. Again, I'm not looking for a full paragraph, Turabian type paper, the whole thing. Some of it you're going to need to have that way, but a lot of this can be charts and graphs. Doesn't need to be 12 pages, but half of them can be charts and graphs if that's the way you want to do that. And then the final big piece is probably the biggest one. That's the plan itself. That can include things like what you want to do when, what are your objectives, what are the deadlines, who are the people in charge. A budget is a good thing to include, all those kind of things. So don't just make this an assignment. And it may be that you're doing all you can right now to just finish the master's degree and stay afloat, keep your marriage together. I don't want you to kill yourself for this. But you know what? Planning is always a good thing to do. If you've gone through a plan recently as a church, great, or in your ministry, you can take and adapt big chunks of that into this. That's fine. If you're getting ready to do it, that's fine. This can be a draft. I want you to think about it. But if you use stuff from something in the past, it needs to be updated. It needs to include the sources. So be sure you're citing those sources along the way. Point out the reference where they're connected in there, how you're doing that, and be willing to make some changes. Some of these books are groundbreaking. They are intentionally designed to help you think differently. Even the stuff we're going to see with Mark and his team, it's going to cause you to think differently. Be ready to make changes if you want to use some of that. Okay, so that's the biggest piece. You've got 4 discussion forum posts just reflecting on, 3 of them reflect on the books, 1 will reflect on your prep plan itself. We've got the time together in DC, a short 2 to 4 page paper where you summarize your thoughts and reflections on each of the speakers sessions that we have, plus every experience we have, and anything that's going to apply to you in your current ministry, your current individual life as a person, follower of Jesus or leader, and then anything you want to put together in your missional action plan. And that is the class. It does have to wrap up on May 4th because that's when the term ends. If you need more time, you got a legitimate excuse, I can give you an incomplete. Yes, you have fewer classes over the summer, just 2 if you're with a regular cohort plan, but they're going to be awesome, incredible, life-changing. If you've never read anything from A.J. Swoboda before, it's incredible. He's a phenomenal communicator and teacher, and Marty's going to be hosting us at Calvary in Naperville, and we're going to take some time to go see and discover Chicago. It's going to be an incredible time in there coming up this summer. So you can do this. You can do this. If you need me for any reason, don't hesitate to call. Most of you have my number, but it is 425-422-9902. Again, 425-422-9902, and I check my email all the time. You got any problem, let me know. I look forward to seeing you in DC.